feel, brother?
Feeling good.
You feel good?
Feeling good. It's grooving.
Ain't so much bone, brother. How you feel, man?
I feel all right.
I call your name. I don't want no people to know you're in here. How you feel, fella? Hey, Jam! Sure getting down. We gotta take you higher. Ow! All right. You wanna do it again? You wanna do it again, huh?
Yeah, let's go on back.
We gotta take you higher. Bam!
Power Lunch with Sharita J. If we could get more people to collaborate with our nonprofits, we could be bringing a lot more programs back to our schools, because there's grants where there's been a music program or an arts program or fine language program cut. There's grants where individuals could bring those programs into the schools and collaborate. So that's why I never shut up about this. And C360, that stands for Collaborative 360.
Hi, this is Sharita Herring, and I'm sorry I'm Skyping from my home office again, and I want to thank all of you for being there with me. Had a lot of things going on, couldn't get into the station today, but that's the wonderful thing about having modern technology, because it does not stop the show. What I'm going to talk to you today is about how do you go after grants, and how are they significant in our communities and even across the globe. How do you get a piece of this $1 trillion pie, all of this money that everyone says is available? Why is it available? How do you get to it? That kind of thing. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. What are the keys to helping you get to this grant? You're asking, how can I get a piece of that? So I'm just going to start right in and talk about how do you get the grants? Why are they available? Who's giving the money? What are the strategies? All of that. Okay? So hopefully you can see my screen, and I'm going to start talking about the keys, the strategies for grant success, and how do you get to that money. And so if you're looking here, I've got that big key showing you, and let's just start talking about the grants. And so my first thing is I want to talk about my sole purpose today is to help you remove the blinders. And so here, when you're looking at my screen, I'm talking about the grants and the nonprofits. And again, I'm going to help you remove the blinders. So what are some of the questions that are asked? Well, some people say, I hear there's no grant money, or there's no grants for what I do, or nonprofits, I want to make a profit. So often people think that you cannot make a profit if you're dealing with anything in the nonprofit arena. And then others say, I hear there's no profit in nonprofit. Again, today I'm going to help you to remove those blinders. So here I'm going to talk about corporations, small businesses, nor nonprofits. They cannot stand alone. None of them can stand alone. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to talk to you about the economic development of how we can all make this work. So you can't build a strong community without a strong core. Well, again, how does that happen? So let's talk about first the anatomy of a dollar, the anatomy of the circulation of the dollar, and how does it circulate throughout our communities? Well, in an unhealthy community, the dollar is known to circulate. It's proven that a dollar only circulates one time. Well, does that mean that a person walks in the store and they only spend $1? Not at all. What that does mean is that so often, especially in a low-income community or deprived community, a person may go in that local corner store and buy some bread or spend, just to get maybe some milk or something like that. But do they leave that business and go to another business in that community and spend their dollars? In many cases, not. They only spend their dollars at that one location. And when they're going to do a lot of other things, then they go to another community, one that may be prospering a lot more. And that's why it shows that in a healthy community, the dollar circulates, statistics show the dollars circulate 5 to 7 times in that community. So now, what do I mean by that? Well, my office currently is located in Beverly Hills. That's 90210, which is one of the richest recorded neighborhoods in the country. And when I leave my office, I myself may stop at the bank, I get gas, I might stop and get a burger before I go to the grocery store, because they always say you don't want to go to the store hungry because you'll buy everything that you see. So That's 4 times already that the dollar has circulated. Then I might stop at the cleaners. So I myself have contributed 5 times. I've stopped at 5 different locations in one of the richest communities in the United States. And I myself am contributing to that community because I have stopped and spent my money at 5 businesses within this community. And then after that, I get on the 10 freeway heading home, and I'm now coming up the 10 freeway to not, let's say that I live in 90043 zip code. But as I get off the freeway, then I'm upset because I see this gentleman right here begging for money. Now I'm getting upset saying, why don't you get a job? But I have not been instrumental in helping create those jobs within this community because I'm spending in another community. So this is what I mean when I'm talking about the dollar normally circulates 5 to 7 times in a healthier community, but may only circulate once in a more deprived community. So then when I get off the freeway, I remember, doggone it, I forgot to get some bread. So I decide to stop at that local Rouse to buy a loaf of bread. Then I may have the nerve to get upset that that bread costs maybe $1 more at this location versus at the other location where I just left. Well, why is that? Well, see, if you have a store that is not receiving as much volume as far as people buying a product, then they may have to mark that product up because they're not getting as much volume as far as people coming in the door spending in that store. Now there's a trickle down effect to that, you guys, because if no one is spending at this store, but then you have the local baseball program or football program or even school that's coming and asking for a donation from this store, they may not donate as often because they're not getting the volume in that store to help cover costs. Where you will find that a store in a more prominent community, they give a lot to all of these various programs because they're getting the volume in the door. So you've got to understand that the way that a community operates, there's a trickle down effect that can help programs, and there's a trickle down effect as far as cost on what you're going to pay for items in a store because of either high volume or low volume, okay? So again, we're talking about this local Rouse. I forgot and didn't buy bread at that other store where I was shopping in Beverly Hills. Now I've stopped here. But see, if we're not spending in our communities, then we end up with what looks like here, where you see that businesses are shutting down because of the lack of volume as far as people coming in the doors and spending at that local business. Then if businesses are leaving communities, then now you also have communities that are blighted. You have communities that now people are moving from those communities because there's no local businesses, which also means there's no local jobs. So people move, and now you end up with blighted, what you call blighted communities or empty housing, because people are leaving to follow jobs, which also follow businesses. Now, if people are not living in communities, now you have these empty schools that are sitting there because there's no businesses, which means that people are moving. So now you have empty homes, which is a result, you end up with empty schools, okay? So I'm going to show you how nonprofits can play a significant role in keeping communities healthy, and especially when you have nonprofits and for-profits collaborating. But what role right now are nonprofits playing that so many people are not aware of? Well, here I'm saying, how are nonprofits valuable for our community? So there was a study done by, and they're saying while the role of business is promoting social change is now attracting the spotlight, it is equally important that our society recognize the financial value that is created by nonprofits. So this study came about in December 2010, and it states that the nonprofit world collectively generates 1.9 trillion in revenue each year, which means that nonprofit organizations represent roughly 13% of the U.S. economy. That's pretty substantial, and I know that most people don't realize that the nonprofit arena is so vital. It says nonprofits are businesses. They simply receive preferential treatment due to their commitment to reinvest all financial surpluses back into their organization and to operate in the service of charitable mission. Now, what does that mean? Well, so often people think that because they reinvest their surplus back into the organization, that means that they cannot get the salaries that the executive or that the staff deserve. Well, that's not true. everyone can get paid within a nonprofit, and you're paid what you're worth, meaning whatever the going rate is in your community and whatever your operating budget can withstand as far as basing the paying the salaries, then yes, you can be paid exactly what the position warrants for whatever the going rate is in that area. So, for instance, in a community, let's say that you're in the Midwest, let's say Ohio or Kansas or Missouri, and you're paying an executive for an IT organization of a nonprofit. Well, whatever the salary going rate is in that community, that's what you can be paid. Now, suppose that same kind of business exists in California or New York, where the cost of living is higher. Then those individuals would be paid the higher rate than in the Midwest because the cost of living is different. So it's just like with a for-profit company, you are paid based on what the going rate is for your communities, and also for what the going rate of based on the community of where you are, whether it's in the Midwest or whether you are in the Far East or the Far West, which might be New York or California. Now, also where it says reinvesting back into the company, even if you're a for-profit company, see, a lot of people think that there's a difference, but even if you're a for-profit company, if an investor gives dollars to you to run the business, they expect you to reinvest the dollars back into the business in the same fashion. But because it's stated this way here, people think that there's a substantial difference in the for-profit and nonprofit and what you can do with the dollars. Now, a report by Johns Hopkins Center for Civil Society Studies, they did an initial analysis of data for 21 states, and it revealed that nonprofit employment grew by 2.5% per year between the second quarter of 2007 and the second quarter of 2009. And this was during the worst part of the recent recession. So what I'm saying to you is, though oftentimes it wasn't recorded or wasn't talked about when economists were talking about the shape of our communities and the economy, I'm showing you here that based on this study, while jobs were dropping in the for-profit arena during this very crucial time in the down economy, jobs were increasing in the nonprofit arena. So again, I'm just trying to show you how significant the nonprofit arena is. By contrast, for-profit employment in these states fell during this same period by an average of 3.3% per year during that same time frame, and that pattern held for every state that was examined. Okay. Now, nonprofit jobs, they're important and valuable jobs. Nonprofits employ scientists, CPAs, nurses, web developers, computer engineers, teachers, lawyers, executives, and tireless direct service workers who deliver to the neediest among us. So we're talking about even those nonprofit programs that you already know about, whether it's homeless programs, feeding the homeless, housing, all of that. But all these other positions are positions that a lot of people just didn't even think about. So again, it's important for you to understand the significance of nonprofit organizations and the roles that they play. Now, none of this is meant to suggest that the best path to widespread employment and jobs is only through the nonprofit arena. What I'm trying to get across to you is that both industries are vital for healthy communities, for job creation and sustainability, okay? So instead, it is critical that we recognize that both nonprofits and for-profits, they both play a financial value to help socially. The idea that we must make a choice between philanthropy and creating jobs is categorically false. Okay? So I'm explaining all of this before we even go into the grants, because a lot of times people think that going after grants, working with nonprofits, or even having a nonprofit and a for-profit, they don't see the significance of what that could be. And I'm going through this information for you to see that it's vital for you to look at both of them as serious industries that can make a difference. So now I want to talk about the difference between the two, the difference between a for-profit and a nonprofit. For-profit ventures, for instance, when a for-profit company operates, it creates financial value by spending its financial resources to employ people and acquire goods and services from other companies. This financial value helps expand the economy and advance our standard of living. So it creates any financial surplus generated by the firm is either it's reinvested into the company or it goes to its shareholders, that kind of thing, right? Well, let's look at what it creates for nonprofit ventures. When a nonprofit operates, it creates financial value in a very similar way. It also employs people and acquires goods and services from other companies. This financial value adds to the economic growth and advances standards of living in the same identical manner as a for-profit company, okay? The same identical manner. The only significant difference is that nonprofits reinvest all their financial surplus back into the organization. Now, again, what do I mean by that? Well, it does not give out revenue to shareholders. See, the nonprofit that we're speaking of is it's a non-stock corporation, so it doesn't have shareholders, that kind of thing. So the dollars are reinvested back into the company, but those individuals that have given to the nonprofit, I'm talking about those nonprofit investors, which are grant funders, which are donors, that kind of thing. Their return on the investment is that now they have a write-off for what they have given to the organization. So again, there's a significant difference there. When you have investors that have given to a for-profit company, their return on the investment, if they're a shareholder, is they get their shares back. You know, they get paid in shares. But when it comes to the nonprofit arena, the return on the investment to those individuals that have given is they get a write-off. That is their return on investment. Okay? For-profits and nonprofits produce both social value and financial value. They are both economic entities that create jobs, help grow our economy, and increase our standard of living. Okay? So it's very important for you guys to understand this and realize that if you decide to step into this arena, you're still making a significant difference, even economically, and it can help you economically. Now, collaborations are key for expanding programs, sustaining communities, and job creation. Now, what I mean by that is I'm talking to you about for-profit, nonprofit collaborations. It can happen, and it has happened since the beginning of time, as far as since nonprofits have been in existence. Some kind of way, they still collaborate with nonprofit entities. For-profit, nonprofits, and other collaborations. Now, collaborations accomplish the following when you're collaborating. It strengthens and expands both businesses and organizations. It has enhanced employment opportunities, empowers internal infrastructures, builds linkages with external partners, assures sustainability for both organizations. It increases effectiveness. Let's say that you have an organization, and let's say that you are an organization working with children, an after-school program, maybe children that are dealing with ADHD or anything else, but you need a counselor also, someone that is certified to work with those children. Well, think about it. Most of the time, those counselors are not a nonprofit organization. So when you're collaborating or bringing them in as a consultant or whatever, that's a for-profit, nonprofit collaboration to accomplish a shared goal. And that is to work collectively to help those children that need the services that collaborating counselor can bring to the program. Okay? It enhances opportunities for funding. So when funders see that you're collaborating, then that just enhances the opportunity because they know that you're expanding your reach and the services that the participants are going to receive. It increases political support. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's not that if a politician gives dollars to your organization that also you can go and ensure that you vote for them and encourage your program participants to vote for them. No, not at all. That's not the way that should happen. When I say that it increases political support, if a local politician sees that your organization is being effective with helping their constituency, then oftentimes a political office has what's called discretionary funding. And if they see that you're helping their population, they too can possibly give a grant to you. The same way that my organization years ago, we received a grant from Mark Ridley Thomas's office when he was in the 8th Council District here in Los Angeles to help his constituency with what I do in my business. And that was received through discretionary funding. So often that our organizations are missing out on those opportunities just because you didn't know about it. Now, does that mean that we are forced to vote for his office and again encourage others to? No, not at all. And that's not the reason that they should give you those dollars. Okay? So, but it does increase opportunities for political support. It improves public relations. When people receive services from you and those services are very effective, aren't they going to talk about it? Yes, they are. And so automatically you have voices that are increasing your opportunities for services, to receive more funding, to receive more individuals in your programs and services, because people are talking about you. So that's what I mean when I talk about it improves your public relations. And then it creates win-win conditions. You've got that counselor that has been involved with the program. You've got your program participants that are able to receive the services from someone that not only doesn't work for your company, but through collaborative efforts, it's like bringing in a ready-made department so that everyone wins. You win by having another individual that's involved with your program. The counselor wins because it expands the opportunities for them to work with a broader audience. And the program participant wins because they're able to receive the services from someone that can bring quality assistance and services that is needed. And so it helps those youth or individuals that are your program participants. So here's an example of a collaboration, and I'm calling it a lead agency, when a nonprofit is collaborating with a for-profit. Let's say that it's you as a for-profit individual or business, and then I'm showing your program participants or the individuals that are going to be the recipients of what you do. When you're under the umbrella of a for-profit company, they're called a lead agency or sometimes a fiscal agent, and the dollars can funnel through them to you. But I want to pause here for a moment and talk about that it's important that you understand that every corporation has a board of directors, whether it's the nonprofit corporation that you're serving under the umbrella, even grant funders, they have a board of directors that they are responsible to report to, okay? And so I'm just showing you how the hierarchy happens even through the funding cycle. So here on a broader scale, let's say that we have a large funder and they're giving, let's say, $1 million. And so I'm showing you here where there's 6 organizations collaborating, and they all offer different services. So let's say that this one is a women's empowerment program and is helping women with their leadership skills, career development, so on and so forth. And then next to them, we have a program that's, let's say it's a youth program and talking about helping them as far as their careers also, and college prep and SAT scores, helping with their SAT testing and all of that. And then you have a program here, and this is maybe youth that's going into vocational training, maybe green technology and other classes like that, plumbing, electrical, electricians and that kind of thing. And then here you have programs, maybe they're with the tweens and teens and working after school tutoring programs for math, English, science, and that, and various subjects. But they all are collaborating under the same grant, okay? And so then next, again, grant funders also have board of directors. So when you see the grant funders, when you're looking at their grant applications, they will be asking you to ask for a report. Now, that's not because they're trying to keep an eye on you to make sure that you're operating as far as like you are their company. They're wanting the reporting to show what you're doing with the dollars, because so often you hear grant funders say, over the past 10 years, we've given, $12 million, and we've helped more than 12,000 families, 50,000 youth, 30% of them were, underserved populations. Where are they getting that information? Well, it's because of the reports that are received. So here you see me saying, showing you where monthly or bi-monthly reports are submitted to those funders. And up here, I'm still talking about the board of directors, because now when those funders are talking about the dollars that they have given out, and then the program participants that have received the dollars, when they're sitting in their board meetings, they're the ones that they're sharing this information, talking about who did their dollars help, and how many people were served, and what kinds of programs, whether it was food programs, women's empowerment programs, college prep classes, whatever it is. The only way that they're able to talk about that is from the reports received. Okay? So now, looking at this, what I'm showing you on the screen, sometimes a nonprofit, even though they're a nonprofit, they must go under the umbrella of another nonprofit. Well, why is that? Well, sometimes a grant funder may ask for audited financial statements. And if this particular nonprofit doesn't have them, then they go up under the umbrella of another nonprofit, and that nonprofit is the organization that reports to the funder based on the information that the nonprofit under the umbrella, they're turning in their reports to this fiscal agent, and this fiscal agent then reports to the funder. But after all is said and done, what is reported back to the funder's board of directors? Well, how can they get a bigger bang for their buck? Well, through the collaboration, see how you see these few participants here? When they collaborate all across a broad scale, it turns from this to this. So they're able to help a broader reach of program participants through the collaborations. By collaborating and having the Women's Empowerment Program, then here they've got the youth that are probably the teens and children under the women that have the job training program, so they're collaborating here. Then you have the teens and tweens program that was all over here, and their moms are over in this program being trained with the job training program. But then you have the schools that are collaborating and making sure that they're offering the programs and services to those women that are part of the program. So again, I'm showing you all the various ways that you can collaborate, okay, to reach a broader audience, okay? So there are vast opportunities to collaborate locally, from city to city, and even beyond borders, state to state, and even country to country. So how would that work? Here I'm showing you we have a child care center that would serve as the fiscal agent. Let's say that they're the nonprofit. They could collaborate with a local culinary arts program that is not a nonprofit, but now they have individuals where they're teaching food safety and preparing healthy meals and all of that, and they can be preparing those meals and preparing the meals to feed the child care program. Then you've got a local senior program, and see, funding, there's a lot of funding available to bring seniors out of hibernation, let's say. So you've got a lot of seniors are living 25% longer, but so many of them are suffering from depression, and even seniors that they're showing their statistics that show that seniors, the suicide rate is increasing because of the loneliness, depression, all of that. Well, if you have a program that's bringing seniors back out into the community, like for instance, collaborating at this child care center, you've got a lot of vital minds that are sitting idle. So they could be, you've got retired teachers, retired individuals that could be helping with the exercise programs and taking the children for walks or whatever it is. So you could be collaborating with the local senior program, and even you may have retired yoga instructors. There's dollars to help children, especially toddlers, start learning yoga. And why is that? Because they're finding, there was a study that showed that teachers reported that toddlers were coming into kindergarten with the stress level of a 9th grader. And so, you guys, I know that so often, if you've been a regular listening to my show, you've heard me talk about that grant funders are wanting individuals to, their lives to be touched earlier, so that we don't end up with situations like what just happened a few months back in Santa Barbara, where that college student not only killed himself, but he killed a lot of his college mates. Or you have Columbine that happened, or the young man that in Aurora, Colorado, that went and shot up the individuals in the movie theater, or even murder-suicides with couples. There have been things that have been troubling these individuals for years in their life. And what they're finding is that so often individuals have grown up that have had trouble going on in their life. Well, grant funders are looking at the possibility of taking yoga and meditation into child care centers to help young children grow up to be more well-rounded. Again, because teachers are reporting that toddlers are coming into school with the stress level of a 9th grader. If we can do something about that earlier in their life, we're going to make a significant difference for our young people that are coming along. So again, what I'm showing you here on the screen is that this is opportunities for 360 degrees of wraparound business and services collaborating to make a difference in the lives of individuals in our communities. And again, it's also helping with business sustainability for for-profits and nonprofits. Okay? So who can be, I'm missing a word there, but who can be involved in furthering initiatives for everyone? So I'm showing you large groups of individuals from all walks of life, all industries that can be making a difference in our communities. So here, for instance, we have a developer, maybe we have someone and these are his blueprints that he's showing. Maybe he's an architect or an engineer. that can be collaborating with a local job training program and incorporating an engineering program, helping individuals, young people decide whether they want to go into that industry before they go to school and realize that maybe they've been under the wrong studies. Or you've got a young lady here, let's say that she's with a program that you could be helping individuals either go into the nursing or the medical field or that kind of thing. And same here with the doctor. Or let's say that you have a young lady here and she's a lawyer, and she could be collaborating with a local youth program and helping young people go into law. You have a lot more young people that are looking at the possibility of going into law or even the legal field or even the law enforcement. So many of them now are looking at Law and Order and CSI and seeing that they can go into crime scene investigation and all these other careers. So there's opportunities to bridge the gap between young people and law enforcement. And then I'm showing you here, suppose this guy with the soccer ball is a coach. And there's so much funding that could help coaches be having after-school programs running year-round, and they would be getting a salary to run that program. Okay? So again, there's so many opportunities, no matter what your industry, for you to be collaborating with nonprofit programs, including dog walkers. Now, if you're a dog walking program, if you're a professional dog walker, in most cases you are a for-profit entity. And let's say that being that for-profit dog walker, you have no idea that you can collaborate with a local program or have your own nonprofit. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, how many homes is this dog walker walking past that could take advantage of her service if they could afford it? Think about how many homes she may be walking past where it's a senior or someone that's disabled that has a dog that is a service dog, but they can't get out and walk their own dog. Or let's say that it's been someone that is normally up and healthy, but now they've gone under a major surgery and maybe they're disabled for the next 6 weeks or incapacitated for the next 3 months. Well, if she had a nonprofit or was collaborating with a nonprofit, then they could apply for her to be walking their dogs, and grants would still cover their costs. So she's offering a service to those individuals that are in need. So again, this is another example of how a for-profit entity is missing opportunities by collaborating with a nonprofit, because you would be serving those individuals that need you but could not afford you. And let's say that you're someone that you have horses, or you have a ranch or a large piece of land, and you would like to have horses and bring individuals there. Well, think about how many individuals that live inner city that never get exposure to the wilderness, that never get to see this kind of land. Well, you could be bringing individuals there. It could be a senior program, and you're taking them on hikes and rides in the wilderness. It could be an after-school program for youth, or maybe a weekend program. So there's opportunities, and it would cover the use of your horses. It would cover your feed. It would cover the staff that it takes to maintain your horses. So think about that. Even if you're a masseuse, think about the individuals that are probably at a hospital. And I've even been in a hospital before, and sometimes when I've been can't get up from the hospital bed, and they had those things on my legs that they're plugged in and they're squeezing your legs and they keep you from getting blood clots. Well, think about if a masseuse was there to replace those. Grants would cover that cost. And that masseuse could be going from hospital room to hospital room and servicing those individuals. What else would that help? Well, think about some of those people that are laying in hospitals that never get a visitor, ever. And maybe they're in the hospital for long periods of time, or even in senior facilities, and the seniors are incapacitated and can't get up and walk around. Well, not only would that help those individuals, the power of touch is so important. Not just something plastic that's squeezing your legs and electrical, but an actual person that is coming and massaging those individuals' legs to keep them from getting blood clots. Well, what else would that help? That would help combat loneliness. That would help with improved communication skills. So this person that's providing that massage can be getting funding from all of those other funders that are funders for fighting depression, loneliness, helping with improved communication skills, in addition to the health and wellness in what you're doing and helping those individuals that are laying in hospital beds, or even maybe even laying at home. Maybe there are people that are in hospice, and a masseuse can be going there and still providing a sense of ease, helping with relaxation by providing the massages. Okay? So don't miss out on these great opportunities that exist. And then, believe it or not, even though there are individuals that collect rocks, I'm talking rock collectors. Do you know that you can be getting a grant for that? Yes, there's a grant for that. Let's say that you are working with children and you're teaching them all the different kinds of rocks, whether it's an onyx or all the different names. I don't know, zinc, or I don't know the names of rocks, but suppose that that's what you're doing. There are so many opportunities that if you love rocks, think of all those other individuals that love rocks too, that you could be making this an after-school program. Do you know that there's even grants that can take you and your children or your program participants to all the massive rock formations that are all over the world? You could be even taking them to see the pyramids that exist, or even some of you have even seen on the History Channel where they're talking about I think it's called Easter Island, where those huge heads were formed out of rocks, where someone did that years ago. They didn't have all the machinery that we have now to lift these huge rocks. Do you know that you can be taking your program participants there and teaching them the history behind that, and who actually were the makers of those, and how did they do that? And what kind of rocks are those, and how did the formations exist? There's so many opportunities for you to be teaching that. And you collect rocks. Okay? Even if you collect buttons. Now, a lot of people think, Sharita, that's just crazy. But when you tell the story of where buttons came from, how did they even come into existence? Well, think about this. When the Crusaders were doing what they do, they were crusading like they do, and they went to a different part of the world, and they ran into the Turks and the Mongols. And they had these little things stuck on their clothes, and they were wondering, okay, what is that? And they took that idea back to England. And it ended up that now, when they took that idea back to England, they weren't called buttons at that time, and they didn't come up with the idea to make that little slit in the other side to run the button through for years. But after they decided to do that, now that increased the opportunity for it. The kings and queens started wearing more and more buttons on their clothes, and the more buttons that they wore, that showed their socioeconomic status. And they ended up making gold buttons and silver and glass, and only the rich could wear those kinds of buttons. But the peasants could only wear wooden buttons. So now, not only when we're talking about buttons, we're talking about the socioeconomic status, we're talking about history, we're talking about geography, we're talking about all those different things around buttons. And then it included with that, because we're talking about the socioeconomic status, it even increased the opportunities for employment. The Button Guild came about, and because those kings and queens started to wear so many buttons, I mean, we're talking that when like King Henry III met King, Paul the 15th or whatever their names were, they had more than 13,000 buttons on their clothes. They were trying to outdo each other. So they had to carry individuals with them to help them dress and undress. So now that's increasing the employment opportunities all behind buttons. But it doesn't even stop there. Do you know that when women started wearing buttons down the front of their clothes, that the religious leaders jumped into this whole thing behind buttons and said it was the devil's snare with women wearing buttons down the front of their clothes? So now behind buttons, we're talking about history, geography, cultural awareness, employment opportunities, socioeconomic status, and now jumping into religion and religious tolerance, all behind the button. So even button collectors, look at all the different kinds of grants that they could be going after by teaching individuals about buttons and where they came from. Okay? So now I want to talk about how you can jump into this and how you can take your passions into grants. And I mean, you just wouldn't believe the passions that can be covered by grants. So I ask you, are you operating in your passion? You can be in the ministry. You could be singing. I'm talking about choirs. You don't have to just go after to have bake sales and car washes. There's dollars for you for choirs and even to have an after-school program as far as bringing young people into your choirs. Excuse me. Let me get a little bit of water. Okay. And even as far as ministry, if you are a clergy, did you know that the Lilly Foundation and other grant funders, the Lilly Foundation alone is giving $50,000 per clergy for you to study the Bible, go on sabbatical, rest, relax. They call it rejuvenation grants. There's even grants for bookkeeping. If you're teaching bookkeeping or finance or anything like that, that's financial literacy. But even if you're an accountant or bookkeeper and you want to help small businesses or startups or nonprofits, did you know that grants can cover your costs to do that, because that is helping with business sustainability, business incubation? Or if you're a carpenter or you're an electrician, plumbing, did you know that you can have a program that's an apprentice program and showing other individuals how to go into this industry? It would be paying you a salary to offer this program. And you do not have to be the nonprofit. You can collaborate with one of your local nonprofits, make it part of their vocational training, job training program, and it would be paying you to help these individuals to go into that industry. Even barbers and beauticians and more. Did you know that, let's say that you're collaborating with a senior program, and on Saturdays you're offering free haircuts to seniors. Well, that's a major help for senior programs, because, or for those of you that are hairstylists, you could have, senior Saturdays and doing the hair for seniors. And why do I say Saturday? Because one of the main days that seniors look forward to, so many of them, is Sunday. That's probably the only time when they get out and go to church. So if you can start helping them look better when they go to church, when they're put on their suits, or those little ladies put on their dresses and their hats, and now you're helping them to look real good, that's helping to combat senior depression, loneliness, that's helping with their improved communication skills, all of that. So barbers and beauticians, get in the game. You're missing out if you're not. And then I'm talking about sewing. If you love to sew, maybe there's a woman that's been retired and she's sitting at home alone, making clothes, maybe making quilts or whatever. Do you know that there's grants that will buy more sewing machines? Let's say you buy her 10 sewing machines, and she can take that into senior programs or make it an after-school program and show young people how to sew. Because so many schools, for instance, let's say that is someone that would love to work with young people. So many schools have cut their home economics programs. So if you've got a mom or a sister or someone that has, or even yourself, and you've retired and you're sitting at home wondering what would you like to do with the rest of your life, there's opportunities for you to make a difference in others' lives while you're doing what you love. So take that sewing and turn it into a program, and take it either to a senior facility and start making quilts and or helping seniors to sew clothes for orphanages in Africa or China, or helping seniors to make quilts for programs for children that are dealing with cancer, and making some warm quilts for them to have at the hospitals. Look how many times, even myself, I about froze to death sometimes when I'm at a hospital with those little bitty blankets. So you could be helping to make those blankets for people that are in hospitals. And then even if you love photography, there's grants for you. You can have, you could either take, let's say that you collaborate with a local transitional program. Maybe it's men transitioning out of prison, and you want to help with, teach them photography. So you're able to, there's grants that would buy the cameras, and you could take them to beautiful places or the zoo, or even kids as an after-school program. Or you could be making a job training program showing individuals how to go into photography, to shoot photos for newspapers, magazines, so on and so forth. Whatever it is that you would like to do, what I'm saying to you guys is, no matter what your passion, we can help you turn that into a program. Okay? Now, I'm just going to pause for a moment. If you would like to know more than even what I'm telling you here on the show, feel free to go to my website at kifoundation.org. That's kifoundation.org, and you can get connected. You can click on the tab that says free grant information. Sign up there and start getting what we send out as far as the grants and other tidbits of information. And also we'll be informing you whenever we're having some upcoming classes. And we also have a program called Collaborative 360. If you're interested in that, look at that tab on my website there at kifoundation.org and find out more about our Collaborative 360 program. That's where we serve as your fiscal agent, but also in that program we're doing management training, corporate governance, board development, how do you collaborate, leadership development, fundraising strategies, in addition to encouraging you, teaching you how to submit your information to us so that you can be a part of the grants that we will be submitting. So again, that program is called Collaborative 360, and you can see that on my website at kifoundation.org. That's kifoundation.org. So now, back to your different passions. Even if you love puppets, you can have a puppet program that you're taking it to schools or child care centers, and statistics have shown that even if you have a child that doesn't speak much, and that's why you see so many counselors and therapists use puppets, they will find themselves talking to that puppet, but they won't talk to a live person. So there's so many things that having a puppet program can do. And even if you just want to do a youth mentoring program, here's an opportunity. There's so many opportunities for you to mentor young boys, girls. You can be a coach for women in transition, or maybe there you got some, you would like to, maybe you've been a single dad before and you want to work with other young fathers, males that are single dads. There's opportunities for you to have a mentoring program. It will be paying you a salary. See, I'm not always talking about volunteering. Even Donald Trump needs a check. You guys, I'm talking about opportunities for you to be operating in your passion every single day or however often you would like. And you do not have to do that for free. You can actually receive grants to support the programs that you would love to be operating. Even if you are a biker, and I'm not talking about riding the regular bike that you would ride on a bike trail. I'm talking about you could be a biker as far as Harley Davidson. Let's say that you love biking and now you know some men that are now retired, and do you know that there's grants that could put that little thing that would sit on the side of your bike, and so that you could be taking seniors that used to be bikers out again, and maybe if you're here in California, Los Angeles area, you would want to put those seniors on, and you've got other bikers that's doing the same thing, and now you're taking them up the coast to Monterey for the day. That's a senior program that's helping to combat loneliness and that kind of thing. So there's opportunities for that. Even if you dance, let's say that you teach praise dance, or you would like to teach modern dance or jazz or African dancing or salsa. Do you know all of these programs that have dance programs? Many of them don't realize that their dance program can actually be a nonprofit. What is that doing? That's helping combat depression, but also it's helping to combat obesity and cancer and heart disease and all of those things while you're having people having a good time dancing to your music. So are you missing out on some great opportunities that exist for you and what you have as a passion? Even if you fish, there's grant money for that. Fishing, I'm talking about. You can be taking seniors fishing, you can take youth fishing, you can help, you can take individuals that are fighting stress, because it is proven that water helps reduce stress. Okay? If you love skating, there's grants for that. Now, it just hurt my heart when I hear the different skating rinks that are closing, because oftentimes the ones that are closing are in communities that are that need to be fighting obesity and have after-school programs that should have senior programs. And so grants would cover having those as a program and taking individuals skating. Even chess. I can't tell you how often I've stopped at Starbucks and I see these men sitting out there playing chess all day, but then we have schools whose programs have been cut. And statistics show that individuals that play chess, by teaching children chess, young people, that helps their intellectual thinking. It improves, and by them learning chess and improving their intellectual thinking, it helps with math scores and just literacy as a whole. So these guys that are sitting there playing chess at Starbucks could actually be playing chess in an after-school program, getting a salary to do that because they're a program director now, and they're bringing this program to help individuals that probably, if they weren't playing chess, could probably be getting into some unhealthy habits because they're bored by not having any structured programs for after-school programs. So again, don't miss out on the opportunities for your passions to be addressed. I'm going to now on another session, stay tuned because I will be going and helping you to learn more now. How do you fill in the information for the grants? But I'm going to stop here. So tune in to me, Sharita Herring, and that's Drive Time. And why is it called Drive Time with Sharita J. Herring? Because here in LA, it's 5 to 6 p.m. and that's drive time for individuals that are getting off work. But for so many of you that are listening from across the country, thank you for tuning in, even though it's not drive time. Tune in to me next Wednesday, and I will go further into how do you complete this grant application now that I've shared this information. So again, this is Sharita J. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Catch me next week so I can go into further into the grant applications. Have an absolutely phenomenal, and I'll see you next time.
Hit it. Oh, how you feel, brother?
Feeling good.
You feel good?
Feeling good. It's groovy.
Play so much bone, brother. How you feel, man?
I feel all right.
I call your name. I don't want no people to know you're in here. How you feel, fellas? Hey, Jam! Sure getting down. But gotta take you high. Yeah. Ow! All right. You wanna do it again? You wanna do it again?